Greetings, demons, and welcome to a bit of a general gaming video. I don't do that many of these too often, but today's topic is that I'm really trying to move on over to keyboard and mouse for essentially everything that I play. So, a little background about me. I started my first proper console technically was the SNES or the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. That was very much just a thing that I was given by my dad, and, I never really played it all too much. We only had, I think, 3 games: Lemmings, Tribes, Super Mario World, and then I want to say Golf, but I may be wrong there. But anyway, I didn't have that many games. I didn't really play it that much. I mostly played with the Nintendo DS, which I had a lot more games for, it's safe to say. My first actual console was the Wii, and funny story about that, my dad actually wanted to get me a PS3, but my mum basically said that I don't play enough games as is to make it worthwhile, so he just got a Wii that was in the living room, and eventually it became mine, but it was just a family console to begin with. So that is where I started, and for the longest time I've been a console gamer. I went from the Wii to the 360, to the Xbox One, to the PS4, to the Switch, and I have, in the last year, moved over to PC. Now, I had definitely been playing games on PC, but never had it been a mainstay of what I played. I played a lot of the, puzzle games and stuff like that on PC. I definitely had some experience with games like Portal and Half-Life on PC prior to me actually having a gaming PC set up. And at the end of the day, I have never really had to use keyboard and mouse for anything other than, generic computer things. When it comes to gaming, I've always had a 360 controller, or I've had some other controller that would work with a PC. So I've never actually had to use keyboard and mouse. So as you'd expect, that basically means that I've barely used keyboard and mouse, and I'm not very good with it, to the point where my aim in first-person shooters like Call of Duty, when using keyboard and mouse, it looks terrible, and honestly it is terrible. I cannot control recoil with a mouse, I can barely aim. Headshots are such a difficulty when I'm actually trying to use a mouse, and it's got to a point where the only realistic time I ever use mouse for aiming is if it's something where the targets aren't really moving that quickly. Something like, I'm trying to think of an example, but there's a few games that I've played where I've been playing with a controller and then I've been like, I need to take this sniper shot on someone that stood still, that's very far away, aim assist or whatever isn't working for that specific shot. So, maybe a bit cheating, but I would use the mouse just to finish off the aiming and finish the kill. Now, I've always wanted to get into keyboard and mouse, and I did for a time use keyboard and mouse on Xbox for Minecraft, which is one of the few games at the very start of Xbox One that actually allowed for it. And it's just not for me. I've struggled to get into Minecraft Java purely because I don't really like the keyboard and mouse settings. Something just isn't gelling with me about that, and I'm sure that changing the hotkeys and changing the actual key setup would probably fix a lot of my issues. But as is, Minecraft's just something that I really struggle with when it comes to keyboard and mouse, and obviously Java can't be played with a controller without mods that I've not been able to actually find. I've got plenty of mods installed for Java, that's the only reason I actually have Java at all, but for some reason controller mods seem to either just not work at all, or the ones that do work just don't come up when you search for them on any of the databases, or just anywhere really. So that's basically meant that I've stuck to games like Minecraft Bedrock, and in terms of Call of Duties and stuff like that, I generally just stick to using controller. But as I say, I am planning on changing that, and I have started to make efforts to change that. As I'm sure many of you already know, my Let's Play of Call of Duty Cold War's campaign, I'm doing that completely with keyboard and mouse, which Oh, that has been torture, because I'm playing on Recruit as well with that, and the amount of deaths that I could have avoided if I had the control that I do using a controller. I wish I'd put a counter the very first episode, because it would have just been so high. But it has slowly but surely taught me how to actually use keyboard and mouse, and I'm still not very good with it. I definitely have a long way to go, but that has definitely helped me, and I think that's the key thing of using controlled environments, so campaigns and story modes, solo adventures, stuff like that. They are very useful for actually building up your ability with keyboard and mouse, or if you're wanting to go from keyboard and mouse to controller, like I'm sure some people will do, it's very good because you're not having to worry about adjusting to actual players. So say you want to play Call of Duty with keyboard and mouse and you're a controller player, doing it in multiplayer is kind of bad, because you're going up against actual players that have skill, whether that's with controller or keyboard. You are at a huge disadvantage because you don't know your own controls. I can't tell you how much I miss out on things like crouching just because I'm on a keyboard. And that's in campaigns where it doesn't really matter, you can generally get away with it. So if I was put in a live multiplayer experience, it would be difficult. So obviously I mentioned in a previous video this week that I've actually started playing Destiny 2 with keyboard and mouse, and once again that's a good example of a game where generally you don't really have to worry about what you're doing, because you can just go against various bots, a lot of AIs, and it makes it a lot easier for you to tone your aim, for you to figure out your controls, and then you could do things like go into the Crucible and fight actual players. But that's something that you have to work up to, so to speak, and you're able to because of how the game is built. And just as one other game where there is a mode that you can use, if you're someone who plays Fortnite, a good way is if you have Save the World, which at this point most people will do. Use Save the World. It's really easy to learn. The controls can be the same. I don't run them exactly the same, but it's close enough that I don't really have to worry about it. And honestly, I feel like my Fortnite ability has got so much better with keyboard and mouse since starting Save the World with it. And I think that's a key point, that games that you enjoy playing normally, they're the best ones to start with. If you're someone who plays Call of Duty all the time, do it with Call of Duty's campaign. If you're someone who plays Fortnite, use Save the World. And just otherwise, find games that are similar to what you enjoy. And generally it will work. As I say, I'm still learning, I'm not very good with it still, but the more games I play with keyboard and mouse, the better I will get. And eventually, I'll be able to use keyboard and mouse just as well as I can use controller. The main reason that I've been wanting to do this for a very long time is because I want to play games like CSGO. And CSGO it's one of those odd games where it's really big, and it's really well known, and it's available on multiple platforms, and yet the PC version doesn't have controller support. And I know technically it doesn't have multiple versions across different platforms, but there is a 360 version. I'm counting that they had controller support. So it is very odd to me that the actual CSGO, it does have controller support, but it's the most awkward controller support they could have given it, and it is not ideal. It is not very good. And that is one of the main reasons I want to go to keyboard and mouse, because at the end of the day, it adds a lot having the ability to actually use the preferred controller, or controls, I suppose. So, yeah, that's basically my journey so far when it comes to using keyboard and mouse from being a controller-only player. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little update conversation sort of thing. Like it if you did, subscribe if you're new around here. I'm going to be making more videos like this in the future, so if you like them, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell so you get notifications every time I upload them. And otherwise, that's it from me. So, yeah. Bye!
Lunar rainbow flag, happy pride, rabbit with facts. Streamer, let's play, take them out like dinosaurs. FNAFN, control, not the leader of a cult. Rabbit with sax, it's Lunar.